The Old Gods of Westeros were at one point the main religion thousands of years ago. They were originally worshipped by the Children of the Forest, the first inhabitants of Westeros, in which they had some practices specific to their religion, one of which was carving faces into weirwood trees in honor of the gods, which in turn made these trees sacred. The religion believes in nameless and numerous nature gods, and the free folk beyond the wall believe that the gods are everywhere, such as in the rocks, streams, trees, and other living beings. Around 12,000 years ago, the first men ventured out from the eastern continent looking to expand into Westeros. They started cutting down the children's forest and weirwood trees, which infuriated the children. These two groups had conflict for a very long time, but eventually a pact of mutual peace was made, and the first men promised to never cut down the sacred weirwood trees again. Over the next few thousand years, the first men came to worship the old gods as well. This religion stayed very prominent in Westeros until the arrival of the Andals 6,000 years ago, in which they brought the religion known as the Faith of the Seven along with them, which I will talk about momentarily. Eventually, the amount of followers of the old gods started to drop because of this new popular religion, where the old gods only remained a strong belief in the north, where most of the first men ended up living after the Andals took over a large portion of the continent. There were many religious wars for years to come, but eventually tensions dropped between these two religions, and during the time where the main series takes place, the amount of followers of the old gods is the lowest it has ever been since the arrival of the first men. Worshippers of the old gods do not have elaborate ceremonies or holy texts, and instead they practice quiet contemplation in God's woods, which are small areas of forest which have been enclosed within a castle's walls. And the worship in a god's wood is centered on the weirwood trees that have faces carved in them, with these trees being the closest thing to a shrine for this religion. Oaths and promises sworn in front of these weirwood trees are considered binding, and the only ceremony of the religion that the followers practice is during marriage, where the bride is to beg the blessing of the gods in front of the weirwood tree. Other than that, there is little that this religion demands of their followers, which means there are very few rules and guidelines overall. The Lord of Lights, which also goes by the names of the Red God, Rolor, the Heart of Fire, and the God of Flame and Shadow, is a deity that is widely worshipped on the continent of Essos. The Lord of Light has been described as a fire god, and worship of him centers around fire and light. Followers of the Lord of Light believe he is the one true God, but they also believe in an evil deity known as the Great Other. They believe that the Lord of Light provides light, heat, and life, whereas the Great Other is his eternal enemy, representing darkness, ice, and death. Not only this, but fanatical followers believe that all of the gods from the other religions in Westeros and Essos are demons and false idols that must be cast down and burned. This religion has a lot more to it in practice compared to the old gods, where many followers believe in prophecies and visions that are communicated through the flames of fires by the Lord of Light himself. Most of the practices they have involve fire in some way, ranging from something as simple as a bonfire to more extreme cases of sacrificing non-believers by burning them alive. This religion is led by those known as the Red Priests, and in temples, they conduct bonfires and sing prayers every night, asking the Lord of Light to bring back the dawn. And a common prayer that followers of this religion say is, "The night is dark and full of terrors," followed by, "Lord, cast your light upon us," enforcing the idea that the darkness is cold and bad and the light is good, asking for the Lord of Light to bring out the sun for yet another day. There are also holy texts for this religion, and apparently it states that the current world that everyone lives in is now considered to be hell, but the Lord of Light will eventually save his followers from this darkness. Many also believe in the coming of a chosen warrior to combat the coming darkness, known as the Prince that was promised. Although in my opinion there are very wacky elements of this religion, especially when it gets on the fanatical side of things. But with that being said, this religion is more than likely the most widespread religion in all of Essos, and although it's not a major religion in every city there, it is still present in most. The Faith of the Seven, or simply referred to as the Faith, is the main religion of the Seven Kingdoms. This religion is especially dominant in the south of Westeros, and the only regions it is not the majority religion of is in the north and on the Iron Islands, where the Ironborn believe in the drowned god. This religion is founded on the belief that there is one God who has seven faces, or aspects to it, which are the Father, the Mother, the Maiden, the Crone, the Warrior, the Smith, and the Stranger, with each representing one part of life or existence. The faith originated over 6,000 years ago in the region known as Andalos, located in Essos, where according to legend, the god of this religion showed himself in front of the Andal people. After this event, the Andals set their sights on invading Westeros, conquering the first men, and slaughtering the children of the forest, viewing their magic as an abomination before the Seven. The Andals burned down most of the weirwood trees in the south, and eventually, all of the first men, besides the ones who lived in the north, fell to the invaders, and as the Andals asserted their dominance all over the south, they also asserted their religion over the first men they had conquered, replacing the worship of the old gods almost entirely throughout the southern kingdoms. Before the rule of House Targaryen, the faith had the right to dispense justice, conduct inquests and trials, and pass judgment over everyone, including including kings. And this justice was enforced by the Faith Militant, who was the military order of this religion, serving the High Septon. The Targaryens took this right away, but allowed the faith to still remain an important part of Westerosi customs. They eventually grew corrupt and their practices became little more than a facade, but with that being said, this religion's importance was still very prevalent, and most of the noble houses had a septa, who was a female clergy of the faith, present in their household to help raise the daughters. Unlike the Old Gods, the faith is based on a number of holy texts and complex social rules, with the central holy text known as the Seven-Pointed Star. Temples of this religion are seven-sided buildings known as septs, with each wall dedicated to one of the seven aspects, and followers of the faith gather in these septs for group prayer. There are many rules to this religion, such as homosexuality being a sin, and of course incest, kinslaying, and more, but the exception to this rule is for House Targaryen, who are allowed to practice incest in order to keep the bloodline pure. With all that being said, there are no different denominations within the faith. However, different regions of the Seven Kingdoms may interpret and apply its rules more or less strictly than others. The many-faced god, or simply referred to as Death, is a deity worshipped by the mysterious cult of assassins known as the Faceless Men. Their temple, which is known as the House of Black and White, is located in the free city of Braavos, and they believe that through their assassinations, they do his work. Followers of this cult believe that Death is the only god, and he is unknowingly worshipped by followers of every religion in the world, simply under different names. Because every religion has a god related to Death in some way, the Faceless Men believe that all these gods from each of these religions are simply different aspects or faces of which Death has revealed himself to humanity, hence why they refer to him as the many-faced god. The Faceless Men view Death as a gift from their god, as a way to end human suffering, whether that be through the euthanization of those who are sick and can no longer stand the suffering of living, or as a way to end the lives of those who cause suffering to others. They believe that they are only carrying out Death's will, and they cannot choose their own targets, rather only ones that Death himself has selected. Each follower believes that they are no one with no personal desires, and are only living to serve the many-faced god. Faceless Men are known to use the High Valyrian phrases Valar Morghulis, which means all men must die sooner or later, and Valar Dohaeris, which means all men must serve, both of which have deep significance in Braavosi society. There are no prayers or worship services in this cult outside of their assassinations, and their temple is open to anyone who is in pain and seeking death, in which they are given a drink of water from a poisoned fountain, granting them a gentle and painless death. In return, the Faceless Men collect their corpses to use their faces as disguises by using their magical shape-shifting abilities. There are many strange and unique facts about this cult, and it is without a doubt one of the most interesting groups I will discuss in this video. The Great Stallion is a horse god worshipped by the Dothraki, mirroring the importance of horses in that culture. The Dothraki acknowledge the existence of other supernatural beings, or spirits, besides the Great Stallion, and although they only believe in and worship one single deity, they accept the existence of other deities who may or may not exist. They believe that the power of other gods is stronger in religions of which they are more widely worshipped, but even then, they still believe that the Great Stallion is the strongest god at any time and place in the world. Followers of this religion also believe that the stars in the night sky are the fiery Khalasar of the Great Stallion, and they also believe that when they die, their souls will ride with their ancestors in the Nightlands only if their bodies are properly burned. The Dothraki believe that a prophesied leader, the stallion who mounts the world, will one day unite all of the Dothraki into one Khalasar, and they will conquer the entire world together. The followers of this religion are very brave but also superstitious people, believing in many different omens, and they will not even go to war until the omens favor it, even if it appears as if they will without a doubt win. This religion does not have any restrictions on pillaging, killing, enslaving, and raping, which is unlike most religions in this world. The closest thing to a priesthood that the Dothraki have are the widows of deceased Khals, where they conduct many religious rituals, interpret all types of omens, and are believed to possess great power of prophecy. This all takes place in the only city of the Dothraki, known as Vice Dothrak. Carrying a sword or shredding blood within this city is considered sacrilege, although loopholes such as strangling or burning a man to death is acceptable. Although this religion comes across a lot more barbaric and unorganized from an outsider perspective, there's actually a lot to it and it can get pretty complex overall. The Drowned God is the deity worshipped on the Iron Islands. Followers of this religion believe that the Drowned God justifies the Ironborn practices of piracy and raiding, as he once brought fire from the sea and created the Ironborn to reave, raid, and pillage. The Ironborn believe that it is not only praiseworthy to kill enemies in battle, but it is also considered a deeply religious act. The youth of the Ironborn are not considered to be a man until they have killed their first enemy, and the religion itself encourages paying the iron price rather than the price of gold, in which it is better to not trade for possessions, but to take them by force from the hands of dead enemies. To most who do not follow this religion, it comes across as a justification for stealing stealing and killing, but the Ironborn themselves take their religion very seriously and have a pretty developed belief system surrounding it. They believe that the drowned god is locked in an eternal struggle against the storm god, who is the enemy of their deity, and that the drowned god's halls are located beneath the ocean, whereas the storm god lives in a castle in the sky with his thunder clouds, where he constantly sends storms down to throw Ironborn ships into rocks. It is said that the drowned god once drowned in the sea for the sake of the Ironborn long ago, but returned to life stronger than ever, which is why those who do drown are looked at as fearless raiders, who are believed to be taken to the drowned god's watery halls, where they will feast on fish and be tended by mermaids for eternity. The common prayer exchanged by followers is, "What is dead may never die," with the response being the same line echoed back, involving clutching the right hand in a fist over the heart. Priests of this religion are known as the drowned men, in which they anoint followers using seawater, which is looked at as holy water, and this is how all of them are baptized. There are also drowning ceremonies used to anoint kings of the Iron Islands, which involves them actually being drowned, and if they survive, they become the next king. Although there are many features to this religion that make them seem cult-like, it is still looked at as a legit religion by many people in this world. The Moonsingers are the priestesses of the Jogos Nai, people who occupy a large area of northeastern Essos, and they are mounted raiders that live in the plains north of Yt. Although this religion didn't appear in the show, and there is even little information about it in the books, I think it is still worth mentioning, as they are a very prominent religion in Braavos, and even in other areas of Essos. Braavos was founded by a diverse group of slaves from Valyria, and they were made up of all different types of peoples, cultures, and religions. One of these being the Moonsinger priestesses. They are said to have led the escaping fleet with their visions, and without the Moonsingers, Braavos would probably have never been created. Although any and all religions are welcome in Braavos, the Moonsinger religion has more followers than any other single religion in this city, which explains why their temple is the largest in Braavos. The Jogos Nai have very different views about gender compared to people living in Westeros. In each band of this religion, there is a Jahat, which is a war leader who is in charge of external politics, and then there is a Moonsinger, a combination priestess, healer, and judge, in charge of internal domestic affairs. If a woman wants to be a Jahat, she must dress and live like a man, and this goes for if a man wants to be a Moonsinger as well. It's not ever apparent if a Moonsinger was born a man or a woman, as they are treated and referred to as one by everyone in their band. This is such an interesting religion, with it being one of the major ones in this world, yet it is so mysterious, and I hope we are able to learn more about it in the future. The Old Gods of Valyria is the last religion I will discuss in this video. This religion believed in several gods, which were known as Balerion, Meraxes, Syrax, and Vhagar. It was practiced by the Valyrians for thousands of years, up until the doom of Valyria, that is. House Targaryen later abandoned this religion when Aegon the Conqueror and his sisters converted to the faith of the Seven after taking Westeros. There isn't much known about this long-forgotten religion, but we do know one practice that followers of it had, which was during weddings, where the bride and groom would cut their hands and lips with dragonglass, then mixing their blood to consummate the marriage. Way back when in Valyria, no one cared which religion one wanted to follow, as long as everyone paid their taxes. The Valyrian religion was mostly just followed by the Valyrians themselves, and it didn't seem like they cared too much to expand their religion outside of that. Now, I might be wrong in saying this, but that's just how it comes across to me after reading all this information. Although this religion eventually went nearly extinct, it hasn't entirely so as of yet, as there are some aristocrats in Volantis that still follow it, but this is mostly just due to the obsession that Volantis has with being the first and oldest of the free cities, which was founded as a colony by Valyria, so they cling to whatever cultural elements of Valyria they can to prove they are Valyria's successors, and should one day have the right to conquer and unite all the other free cities. Although the Targaryens eventually stopped following this religion, they still named several of their dragons after multiple gods from it. With that being said, that is all we pretty much know about this religion at this moment, but I hope to also learn more about this one in the future. Although this is unlikely, I would love to see a book or show come out taking place during the time where Valyria was alive and thriving someday. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts, and also which of the religions I discussed is your favorite in this franchise. Thank you again, and goodbye.